The Philippines is developing an airport on an island it occupies in the West Philippine Sea, as the Southeast Asian nation asserts its claims in the disputed waters amid lingering tensions with Beijing. Procurement of land for the runway extension is underway for the Pag-asa Island Airport Development Project, Philippine President Communications Office said in a statement last week. Pag-asa is the local name of Thitu Island in the Spratly Islands in the South China Sea, where Beijing lays sweeping claims. Once completed, the project is expected to provide an efficient mode of travel to and from the remote island where Filipino civilians live and where military personnel stationed. These will also bolster capacity to handle bigger military aircrafts. The plan shows the Philippines' resolve to keep its presence in contested waters, as China also pushes its claims that have been rejected by a 2016 arbitral ruling. Manila has also been sending vessels in the disputed sea, causing clashes with Beijing. A military runway on the island of Balabac in Palawan province near the South China Sea is also nearing completion. Balabac is one of the 4 new sites that the U.S. military can access under a defense agreement that was expanded last year. The infrastructure projects are among the priorities under the Marcos administration, and are part of efforts to open the region south of the capital to new investments, ease transport, and strengthen the tourism sector. The Philippines has taken steps to bolster its presence in the contested waters. The construction of an airport on Pag-asa Island, known internationally as Thitu Island, is part of this broader strategy. The completed project is expected to significantly improve travel to and from the remote island, facilitating better supply routes and potentially boosting tourism and investment in the region. A spokesperson from a Chinese embassy, China has indisputable sovereignty over Nansha-Qandao, including Zhangyi-dao, and the adjacent waters. Using the Chinese names for the island, and the collection of islands a part of its claims. The development of the airport on Pag-asa Island is likely to further strain relations between Manila and Beijing. Pag-asa is an island in the Calayan chain, at least 285 nautical miles off Palawan. The Philippines has long established military and civilian presence in the area, although China is also claiming the island. Thitu Island is the largest island the country controls in the Spratly Island group. About 200 Filipinos live on Pag-asa Island, where the government set up a municipality under Palawan province in 1978. Apart from the second Thomas Shoal, locally known as Ayungin, the Philippines occupies 8 other features in the South China Sea and considers them part of its exclusive economic zone. In the near island of Laoag, the Philippine Congress has earmarked 800 million pesos to build also a fishing port on the island in the West Philippine Sea, to encourage civilian settlements. It has an area of 7.3 hectares. It is located 98 miles east of Pag-asa Island. The port is separate from the 1.5 billion pesos allotted for the expansion of an airport on Thitu Island. The Philippines government is strengthening its defensive postures that surround the western and northern side of the archipelago, as aggressive China persistently intruding the country's exclusive economic zone. The Philippines is now focused on reorienting and enhancing its capabilities, to focus on external defense cooperations in support of the military's adoption of the comprehensive archipelagic defense concept. This is necessary as the country continues to face maritime security challenges over the West Philippine Sea and its northern territory near Taiwan. In line with its comprehensive archipelagic defense concept, the Philippines develops new infrastructure projects to support military operations and solidifying its defensive network. Aside from the airport and seaport development in Pag-asa Island, the Philippine government aimed to restore Subic Bay Airfield to be used specifically for maritime operations. As part of Manila's defensive posture against China's aggressive actions in its sovereign waters in West Philippine Sea, the new Philippine Air Force Forward Operating Base is set to host the services for maritime patrol assets, fighter jets, missile storage, and a large hangar that can support the service on upcoming surveillance aircraft. The Philippines is looking to create a new base on the site of a former American naval air station at Subic Bay to increase its aerial surveillance and power projection capabilities in the South China Sea. While plans to fully develop the former American naval base were announced almost a decade ago, it was only this year that the service invited companies to bid for the project. Amidst the tensions generated by China's development of artificial islands in the South China Sea, the armed forces of the Philippines AFP plan to rehabilitate the air and naval facilities in Subic Bay Freeport, in the central part of the mainland island of Luzon. The Subic Bay, a deep-water harbor located 50 miles northwest of Manila facing the South China Sea, was the service and logistics center for the U.S. 7th Fleet until November 1992. Accordingly, this move will enable the AFP to quickly deploy its fighter planes and frigates to any contingency in the South China Sea, in the face of China's maritime expansion in these disputed waters. Previously, the site of the U.S. Naval Air Station in Kubi Point, in Subic Bay International Airport was established, following the broader American military withdrawal from the Philippines in the 1990s. Since then, both Philippine and American military forces have been returning to the area to facilitate resupply, refuel and repair vessels. Subic's port facilities also support the delivery of U.S. military equipment into the Philippines during bilateral exercises. Amid increased tensions with China over territorial disputes and a realization of its lackluster defense capabilities, Manila has committed to the re-establishment of military infrastructure at Subic Bay. With its strategic location adjacent to the South China Sea, particularly in Scarborough Shoal, the Philippines established the Subic Naval Operating Base in 2022. This 100-hectare section of the former Hanjin Heavy Industries and Construction Shipyard, now owned by American firm Cerberus, became the Philippine Navy's most important base. Since its founding, the base has been the only one in the Philippines that can support the services of U.S. military's largest vessels. Across the bay at Subic Bay International Airport, a similar story unfolded as the Philippines examined what facilities could be useful in their new military plans. Philippine Air Force documents on the project directly cited the proximity of the airfield to Scarborough Shoal and the South China Sea as the reason for the construction of the forward operating base. The Armed Forces of the Philippines has identified Subic Bay International Airport as a staging point for joint air-sea land operations under its strategic basing plan, which aims to identify points across the country's vast archipelago to support and project forces beyond territorial waters and into Manila's exclusive economic zone. The existing runway may be utilized by surface attack aircraft in support to both land and maritime operations, stated the Philippine Air Force bidding document on the potential of the former U.S. Naval Air Station. While bids put forth are preliminary, worth around $2.5 million and only covering housing and security upgrades, the plan's schematics outline other future ambitions at the airfield, including basing for fighter jets, missile storage, and a large hangar that can support the services on upcoming surveillance aircraft. To strengthen the country's territorial defense, Philippines Defense Secretary directed the military to increase the number of troops stationed at the northernmost island, specifically the remote Batanes Island. During the recent visit to the naval installations, the agency also called for the development of more infrastructure on the island which will be funded by U.S. These include ports that can accommodate large vessels and other facilities to be used during crises, including humanitarian and disaster relief. But here is a catch. The Batanes Islands are located just 200 kilometers or 125 miles from Taiwan, a self-ruled island state that China considers its renegade province and wants to occupy. The announcement made by the Filipino Defense Secretary comes at a time when China and the Philippines have been locking horns in the South China Sea. China has no business warning the Philippines about its activities in Batanes, the country's northernmost island province closest to Taiwan, when Philippine officials ordered to increase military presence in Batanes as they highlighted its strategic importance for the country. After several months of confrontation at sea and bombast by Chinese authorities, the Philippines is looking to bolster its military capability and strengthen its territorial defenses. The decision to boost troops and expand infrastructure at Batanes Islands seems to be a part of that ambitious strategy. The Bashi Channel, which runs between Batanes and Taiwan, is a crucial choke point for ships traveling between the Western Pacific and the disputed South China Sea and is likely to be used by China in case of hostilities. The Philippine Navy opened its naval detachment on Mavulas Island in Batanes in October 2023. This area is also reportedly considered a potential location for the 2024 annual U.S.-Philippines military exercises. In November 2023, the Philippines and the United States started joint patrols on Mavulas Island, located 100 kilometers from Taiwan, and ended in the South China Sea. The Philippines also opened a Coast Guard post in the country's far north to boost security following China's military buildup near Taiwan over the past 2 years. The outpost shall gather essential maritime data and intelligence, enabling the Philippine Coast Guard to respond effectively to threats such as illicit trade, trafficking, piracy, and foreign intrusions. In 2022, the area around Itbayat witnessed a military buildup as China responded to political developments between Taiwan and the United States, leading Manila announcing the opening of the station on the Philippines' northernmost inhabited island. Securing peace, stability, and freedom of navigation along the Luzon Strait is crucial for ensuring Philippine national security and economic prosperity. The island of Itbayat is located around 150 kilometers or 93 miles of Taiwan's southmost coast. Situated in Luzon Strait, which lies between the Philippines and Taiwan, both a vital international waterway and a potential flashpoint for regional and international conflicts. J. Terriella, the Philippine Coast Guard spokesman for South China Sea issues, said the Itbayat station will enable effective monitoring of vessels passing through the strait. Notably, there have been instances that the People's Republic of China vessels were being observed in this maritime area as they crossed to the Philippines' eastern seaboard. Itbayat is just outside the area designated by a vaguely defined map of dashes that China uses to claim most of the South China Sea. The island was one of the venues of joint military exercises by the Philippines and the U.S. from April 22 to May 10, in which more than 16,000 troops from both sides participated. In 2023, the Philippines almost doubled the number of its military bases that U.S. forces can access, including 3 facing Taiwan. China has said the Philippines' moves for new additional U.S. bases were stoking the fire of regional tensions. December last year, the Philippines inaugurated a new Coast Guard monitoring station base on Pag-asa in Calayan Island Group, an island occupied by Filipino forces in the disputed South China Sea, and plans to expand joint patrols with the U.S. and Australia to counter China's increasingly aggressive actions and peer bullying in the strategic waterway. Manila's outpost of Thitu is its biggest and most strategically important in the South China Sea, largely claimed by Beijing despite conflicting territorial claims by several regional nations. Known locally as Pag-asa, Thitu lies about 300 miles or 480 kilometers west of the Philippine province of Palawan. Home to about 200 people, it is used by Manila to maintain its territorial claim. A new Coast Guard station on the contested island of Thitu in the South China Sea, boosting Philippines' ability to monitor movements of Chinese vessels and aircraft in the busy disputed waterway. As tension mounts over territorial claims in the area, the Philippine Coast Guard had early this year spotted a Chinese Navy ship and dozens of militia vessels around the island, one of 9 features Manila occupies in the Spratly archipelago. High seas face-offs between Chinese and Philippine ships have intensified this year in the contested waters, fueling fears of a larger conflict that could involve the United States. The U.S. has repeatedly warned that it's obligated to defend the Philippines, its oldest treaty ally in Asia, if Filipino forces come under an armed attack, including in the South China Sea.